trenches. Ask a nigga what he benching. Triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Whole hard in the trenches. Ask a nigga what he benching. Triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Don't forget I got memories, dead stain the whole room if I let them bleed. Shit was dark, I let this little light of mine.
Shout out to my boy Key Glock, man. I'm saying that's my boy right there. You know, I'm gonna ask. Hey, that's the pregame. You know, sometimes I gotta give credit first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to We the Best and Magic Man for the follow. I appreciate y'all. But Dre, you know, Key Glock is my go-to right now. I gotta give him credit because I talk shit about Key Glock all the time. And it's more so because I felt like he had the elementary bars, but the last year. My friends will tell you too. Like I couldn't. I liked his music. When I listened to his bars, when I listened to what he rapping about, I wasn't there with him. But now, you know what I'm saying? I'm here. I'm listening. I gotta give him credit.
So he grew on you.
In terms of a rapper, yeah. The beats always sunk. It always got me. His beats always got me. But yes, in terms of like just being a more complete artist, yes, he's grown on me, man. So. Trust me, if you need anything to get me hype, playing that Key Glock on paper route mixtape, I'm zooted. You know what I'm saying? I'm good to go. Hey, but listen though, appreciate everybody who's joining live. Appreciate everybody who's listening. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast. We got the regular degular Dre in the building. Dre, how you feeling tonight, boss? Everything good with you?
Great, man. What is it? Tuesday again? You know,
yes,
I'm losing track of these days. Unless the Redskins or the Washington football team playing, you know, I don't know what day it is.
Look, it's just for some football, man. So we got a couple more days. That's all it is.
College football, NFL, I'm ready for it all.
I needs that. You got your bankroll ready for the gambling season?
Yeah, man. That's why I took the summer off. Normally, I would put some action on some summer stuff. I said, nope, you know what? I'm waiting for football season. I'm not doing nothing silly, no preseason action. No, and it's funny because, you know, on Saturday, I went to the sports book for the first time up at by Cap One Center.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't go in there with the intentions of gambling or anything, and I didn't gamble. I just wanted to go see what it looked like since I was in the area. And
all the squares was up in that motherfucker.
Man, it was some degenerates up in that place. I mean, you had dudes up there calling their friends back home. Oh, you want some action on this preseason game? How much you want me to put on it for you? I'm like, it's preseason. Then a dude talking about, the Bears fucking up my money in the third quarter. It's preseason. You probably don't know two players out in the field. You know, you put money on this crap.
Preseason, man. Look, lesson for everybody that's listening. Look. Don't bet on preseason. If you haven't started gambling yet and you're interested, stay away. I tell people that all the time. If you have not started, stay away.
Yeah.
I can't help it now, bro. I'm in it, and I will not stop for the rest. I don't know when I'll ever stop. But if you can stay away from it, stay away from it, and you will be stress free. You know, you don't got to worry about anything. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to worry about going into debt. Like, you're fine.
Yep.
Oh, man. So, listen, let's go ahead and get into it, man, because we got a good guest on. Joining us on the Chopper Dive is Mark Tyler. Mark covers the Washington football team for Hogs Haven, a blog under the SB Nation umbrella. If you're listening or if you're watching, look, you can't see Mark right now, but he is trying to get his video on. You know, he's trying. But he's here with us. And Mark, how are you feeling tonight, big dog? How's everything going for you?
Guys, I'm so upset. I have my Colonel Taylor out, ready to go. My bourbon games. I'm just gonna give you guys a little tip.
Hey, walk us through it. Walk us through it.
Here's how I do not spend my money gambling anymore. I buy bourbon. So my wife says, you can do one or the other. She's like, you want to go out and be a degenerate gambler? She's like, then you're cut off from your bourbon game. You want to play a bourbon game? You're not gambling. So I decided to spend some money on gambling during the winter and into the spring. And then I switched over to bourbon. So I stay away from those preseason games. So that's my tip for you guys. Buy some bourbon.
Let me ask Mark. Mark, what's the best bourbon in your collection right now?
He got it. I love his pictures before he even got on, man. His pictures, the stuff that he posts, it's incredible. I take notes every time. I swear.
I'm gonna have to say I have a Pappy 12 here, but I didn't buy the whole bottle, so I cheated because I can't afford it. I'm not spending $1,000 on a bottle of Pappy.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, Mark, isn't the Pappy 12? Isn't that the thing that they made a documentary out of? The famous stolen bottles or something like that, on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh my
God. The whole
God.
Pappy thing. Yeah.
I didn't see that. Okay.
Hey, Dre, you're missing out. That shit was incredible, man. That shit was incredible. They were making thousands of dollars off of like barrels of that the Pappy drink. And I'm gonna let Mark talk, but it was incredible.
It's crazy. The bourbon game right now is so hot. The fall comes around and all these new bourbons release and people just go nuts. So they're out there trying to scalp anything they can get. If they get something on the shelves, they go onto the black market and go and triple what retail is. So my thing is I don't pay that type of money. I pay retail. So if I find the bottles, I buy them for retail or like 10 or 20% over. That's it. I don't sell my bottles. I'll trade them with friends. That's about it for me. But that Pappy, going back to that story, we were at a restaurant one night and I looked over and I talked to the bartender and he goes, I got 2 Pappies here. I'm like, you're kidding me. So I said, give me a pour of each one of these bad boys. So I did a Pappy 10 and a Pappy 12. And I said, they're delicious. So we ended up drinking a couple of them. And the guy's like, listen, there's not a lot of left in this Pappy. He's like, you want to take it home with you? And I said, are you kidding me? I'll take it home. How much are you going to charge me? And we were having a bag at that time. So I don't even know what I paid for that bottle, but I can tell you it wasn't expensive as what you would get for a full bottle. So I like that.
Yeah, I'm looking online. I see them for like 2,500.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yes. And so salute to Mark, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm a little jealous. All right. One more thing before we get into football. One more thing. How does the pat? Is it smooth, man? Is it worth or do you? I wouldn't say is it worth, because I don't think any drink is worth $2,500. But is it? Do you see why it's a high price bottle?
I see why it's a high price bottle, but I see why it's a $150 retail bottle, not $800 or $1,000, whatever they're trying to get in the black market. I have retail bottles here, like a Rebel 10 year, which I think is a wheated bourbon that is just as good as Pappy, and it's $80 max. So I prefer drinking that stuff. I like my Weller. My Weller's like $60, so I'm happy with that. I just wanted to say I had the Pappy, so it was all a clout thing there, chasing that. and plus we were drunk, so it's all good.
Absolutely. And what's going on, Cole, man? Yes, I 100% agree with you. Dre, I'm sure, agrees with you, and clearly Mark agrees with you. You are a sick motherfucker if you are gambling on the preseason. 100%. We do not disagree with you. I stay away from preseason. I did get lucky one year though, Cole. I got lucky one year because I was bored. I was in a strip club. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna lay a couple dollars down on these couple teams, get a parlay going. I won a couple $100, but that was the only bet I ever bet in preseason. And never look back. So 100% agree with you. We can leave it there. So listen, while people are still tuning in, I'm gonna get an announcement out the way. And then we could get to football, man, because Dre and I talked about this over the weekend, and we talked about this a little bit more yesterday as well. One of the things that we got going on with this Trap or Dive thing and the live stream, we appreciate everybody who tunes in, and we appreciate everybody who supports us, man. Like I said yesterday, we don't have fans, we have supporters, and we want a way, and I want a way to try and get everybody involved. And as much as possible. And one of the things that we'll try and get going now is call-ins, call-in segments. And these call-in periods are going to happen twice a week moving forward. The first test run of this, and remember, I said preseason was always going to be the test run of things to see how we can implement this in the regular season. And so the first thing that we got going on is going to be on Thursdays and Mondays for about 25 to 30 minutes. Call-ins, man, everybody who's supporting us, everybody who wants to get things off their chest, anything Washington football, whether it's something that you want to say and we can talk about, or whether it's something that you want to ask us and we talk about. Get it off your chest, everything out there. Call in. I'll provide more information for the call-ins, but it's everything out there, man. We appreciate everybody. We want to talk to everybody more. We want to find a way to get everybody who fuck with us, get them on the show, man. So Thursdays and Mondays, 25 to 30-minute call-in segments before we move over to the actual football content or whatever we had else going on for the show. So I appreciate everybody who've been tuning in, and we'll keep this thing going and keep finding ways to keep everybody involved. So yeah, that's the announcement that I talked about yesterday. That's here we are with it. So shout out to Dre for helping me out with this one. And we'll find a way to get the Skype calls going where everybody can be included who wants to call in. All right. So first thing first, man. Mark, I want to get your opinion on your overall impressions on the team now that the time has passed from the New England game. And obviously Dre too, because we last spoke on Thursday about the game.
Thursday?
Yep, and that was the initial impressions. So I'm gonna let you all have the floor at it. Me and Felix talked yesterday, Felix Shamel. If you all haven't listened to the Felix Shamel interview, he's really good, gave some really good insight about things that's going on at training camp. So this is all you all. This is you, Dre. This is you, Mark. So Mark, I'm gonna give you the first stab at it. Your overall impressions on how the team has looked since the time has passed. And then Dre, you can go ahead and follow up.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jamal, Dre, I think I'm going to start with defense. And the one thing I saw during the game that kind of shocked me a little bit is our linebackers were playing so tentative during that game. You could see with Davis, especially, he was thinking too much. He's a super athlete. I mean, he can react to any type of play. He can go sideline to sideline. And you can tell he was out there just overthinking things and not letting his athleticism take over. So that was the first impression that I got looking at the defense. And that was the most exciting part for me, was watching this young defense try to gel. I knew we weren't going to see a lot of Chase and Montez, but watching this young linebacker core, watching some of these young secondary guys. The second thing I'll say on defense is I thought that our defensive backs, the depth there was incredible. And I think that we had a lot of guys that played pretty good. St. Juice had a couple moments in that game, but he's been practicing like a warrior out there, just killing people. One-handed stab interceptions, and I mean, just doing work. And I think we saw a little bit of McTire was playing pretty well too. He had some moments in that game where he showed a little bit, and people were kind of eyes open, thinking, hey, this kid may have something. So that's what I thought about the defense impressions. I want to get Dre's, take on that, and then maybe we can jump over to offense. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, defensively, obviously they had that great first drive of the game where Chase ends up sacking Cam Newton. But it's just I don't know how much I could have taken from it too much, because the starters didn't play too long, but Jamin was out there for quite a while, and I couldn't agree more with Mark that he did look tentative and he didn't trust what he was seeing on the field at first. But I thought he got a little bit more comfortable as the game went on. But he's a player, I think right now he has a lot on his plate. He has a lot of responsibility. He's playing the Mike position, in the NFL, and that's going to take some time. But Ron and them, they laud how he picks up things very fast. So it may be a situation where this is great for him, where he's having preseason versus a last year where you didn't have a preseason, and a guy like Jamin Davis, he didn't have that opportunity to kind of grow before the season starts. So this is great for him, like I said, because he's going to have a lot of responsibility, being on the field a lot, playing that Mike position. Some people have suggested maybe moving him over to the weak side position, I guess, until he gets comfortable. But no, just let him get the growing pains down in preseason. Let him get comfortable with the speed of the game and everything. And then eventually you'll start to see his instincts take over. So Ben St. Juice, he's a guy that he made he had a pretty decent game for his first outing in preseason. I expect him to also to show more of what they're seeing from him in practice as the games go on. And as a lot of people are noting, he's playing on the outside a lot, which is something that people were wondering if he was going to do and take over for Kendall and maybe move him on the inside. But I'm not sure what the plan is this week going into preseason for the defense or the offense. I don't know if the starters are going to play more, but I sure would like to see them out there getting to jail more and see, if we can see more action out of them this week.
Now, before we move over to the offense, fellas, I'm gonna ask you all, what stood out to you from a concerning standpoint? I'm not going to say panic, And I don't want you to be alarmed, but just something that raised your eyebrows in terms of, all right, well, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say this is a big deal, but you know, I got my eyes on it type deal. What was those things for you all, or thing? I'm assuming it may just be one item.
I mean, for me, it was the linebacking core again. I'm going to go back to that and beat that to death, but I just didn't see a lot of depth back there. I mean, we have two guys that are capable of playing, I think, at a pretty high level. They're both athletic in Holcomb and Davis. But Bostic, let me down again. I saw coverage gaps, lapses, whatever you want to call them, missed tackles, shooting the gap, not playing his inside-out leverage. And I don't think we have a lot of people behind those guys. So if one of those guys goes down and we have to rely on a guy like Bostic or Mayo, I'm a little bit nervous. I thought Hudson flashed, but I also thought he was a little tentative in some of his reads as well. His drops he wasn't getting the depth on his high hole drop when he was at the mic. And I saw him, hook the curl buzz flat. He had a ball breeze right by his ear hole. I mean, listen, he was in the right spot, but he was just a half a second late to react. And his fills and his run reads weren't quite where I thought they needed to be at this point. When he did move over to the will, I saw him outside covering running backs on the boundary 2 different times, which I'm like, listen, that's what this kid can do. He was a safety at Michigan. He converted to their hybrid position, and that's what he's going to do here. So I was impressed by Hudson, but for me, linebacker is still a big concern.
Yeah, and I have to piggyback off of Mark there as well, because that was the biggest concern last year was the linebacking core. And, we got gashed a lot in the run game. And you saw it like with Bostic missing tackles, that's just he's not getting the spots where he needs to be quick enough. I mean, I don't think he has the athleticism, that you want at the position to be able to do that. But that is a concern. Like I said, the overall depth with the linebacking core, you want to see Khaleke Hudson flash, because that's something we've been talking about all offseason. You want more speed at the linebacker position, and you went out and got it with Jamin. Last year, Cole Holcomb was the fastest guy in the linebacker core, in my opinion. And he was the only one, but you need more of that, at that position, unless you're just going to be like a really smart London Fletcher type of linebacker. You need some athleticism there, and Bostic's lack of athleticism hurts. And right now, there's no one else out there, shining or flashing the kind of quell some of the concerns going into the season. So hopefully that's something we see the guys get more comfortable with, like I said, as they get more snaps in preseason. But again, that was the concern last year, and so far, I mean, if you want to call it a concern, that would be the concern early.
Yeah, man. Linebackers gonna be tough. Linebackers gonna be tough, man, because we kind of know they were already top heavy, so the curiosity came with the depth part, and the big piece being Khaleke Hudson. We didn't know what he can bring, but we always pointed or penciled him in as that the vaunted, famous Buffalo nickel roll that we've been using, the usage word that we've been having all off season and all summer, and it's a real thing, but it's been a lot of hype behind that that style of defense and that package, and Khaleke has been the favorite to kind of be a majority usage individual behind that, and I don't. I kind of agree with Mark, and understanding what Felix told me yesterday, who's on the beat, and seeing everything. He didn't stand out, and it's not a negative thing, and it's not a overly positive thing. It's just there was nothing to say that confirmed, to be exact, and nothing that confirmed that he can really be the guy that Washington's looking for, and be comfortable in that situation. I guess I'll leave it there, and if you guys have any closing thoughts on the defense or Khaleke, we can close out and then move over to the offense.
I'm good.
All right.
Yeah, let's take it over.
Copy that. So what's going on, Kev? He mentioned, that's a good question. I'm gonna toss this to Mark right quick. Kev asked, do y'all think it was a mistake not bringing back Michael Kendricks? And obviously we know Michael had the legal issues, but that was resolved recently. I don't remember the exact decision from the judge or anything, but he's not facing any jail time. But yes, that's the question. Do you all think that it was a mistake not bringing back Michael Kendricks?
I guess you could say it was a mistake because we don't have the great depth. He just signed with someone, if I'm not mistaken, just the other day. I just saw that.
Let me look it up while you're
I
talking.
forgot who. Yeah, I forgot who it was, but I just saw he signed. I thought he was the guy that may hang around, and we may be able to like bring him on toward the end of training camp, right before the season, if we had any injuries. That's kind of what I was thinking about there. I guess being he is, if I'm not mistaken, 31, maybe going on 32. I kind of wanted to get younger at the position. So I'm happy that we did. Like we have Kleeke, and Davis right now and Holcomb. Those three are young guys, all under 25. So I was really hoping we went in that direction. I just think we should have double dipped in the draft and went linebacker again, later on after we picked Davis.
Understood. So he did sign with the Niners. Go ahead, Dre.
Okay.
Kendrick signed with the Niners.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, yeah, not just Kendricks, but anybody. I mean, I thought they should have, addressed that position more than once this offseason, via free agency, draft, whatever. But like KJ Wright, he's a guy that's still out there that, he would be great depth on his team, if not starting material on his team right now. I just think they kind of, and I don't know what it is because I feel like they attacked a lot of other positions that they need. Like the needed positions, you saw them attack it, a couple of times. But linebacker was like, we got Jamin and we're fine. Like, that's it. Like, we're doing nothing else. And it's kind of how they went with the kicker position. Like, even with Dustin Hopkins, like, I'm still shocked that they don't bring in, like, someone in to compete with him, at the very least, So it's one of those things. Those are two question marks I've had for them. The coaching or the front office staff is why no competition at two of those spots there.
Absolutely. So Cole mentioned, and I mean, he has a fair point too. I think fans need to be patient. It's hard to be an elite defense year over year. Linebacker is still going to be an issue. Last year, we were third in DVOA. So if we drop to 8, that's almost expected in 2021. It's really hard to have a perfect defense in today's league. So that's fair. That's actually not bad at all. I mean, especially a drop off like that. If you're 8th, you're still top 10. so it's pretty good. And we the best.
Jamal.
Yep.
Volume went out, Jamal. It's out.
All right. Hold on one second.
Oh, you back. You back. You good.
Okay, so it probably just blanked out for a second. All right, so yeah. So we the best. I did get your question. And we're about to actually transition to offense right now. And so I have your question stored. We're gonna go ahead and ask it in a couple minutes. But fellas, thoughts on the offense to this point, post New England, and where we at with this one.
The offense actually was more impressed with them than I was the defense, even if they didn't score until later in the second quarter. But I thought that Ryan Fitzpatrick looked really comfortable out there, and he just made that throw to Logan Thomas was just really impressive to me. I mean, he got the ball the time, the adjustment to make the catch that Logan made on that ball just showed that, they can, not just Logan, but the rest of the receiving core, that those guys can be really in sync with Ryan. I mean, and for me, I didn't really see Ryan make any bad decisions on the field. It's like a little bit of time out there, and they moved the ball. Like they moved the ball each time he was in the game, and I felt like they probably would have scored probably a touchdown in one of those drives. But I thought Ron just wanted. I don't know why they didn't go for it on that 1-4 for 1. I thought they should have just went for it and tried to score, but they were being conservative. But I believe he'll be much more aggressive in game or something like that. I thought Antonio Gibson moved pretty well. I mean, we were all watching his toe to see if he's moving well. I think he moved pretty well, and of course, Jared Patterson, he was the star of the show. I believe he's making himself a lot to be on the roster this year, and yeah, just overall, like I said, Terry looks good, and even Heineke didn't look bad. I mean, he's not better than Fitzpatrick, but
yeah.
I thought he made some good plays. I mean, he made a couple of stupid decisions as well, but he can move the ball. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, I was pleased with the progress of the offense while he was in the game.
Absolutely, Mark, where you at with the big dog?
So I'm gonna take us to the other side of the offensive line because I love watching offensive line play. Sam Cosmi, what can you say? He was a man-child after those first few snap jitters came out. Dude was pancaking people. He was coming off tandem blocks, getting to the second level. He was reaching people on the outside zone. He was opening up holes. I mean, this kid was impressive. I know that PFF had a rating on him, and I don't always agree with PFF's ratings on the offensive line. I think it's a little bit overly subjective
it's really
in the
hard
way
to
that they
grade.
rate.
Yeah.
It's super hard to grade that in defensive backs and secondary, but they graded close to me. I think it was 85 or 87 overall in that game. He was our highest rated offensive lineman. And watching the game, I went back and watched it 3 times afterwards on replay. Dude, he was amazing. I was so impressed with how he handled right tackle. The other guy who I thought stood out on the offensive line was Sadiq Charles. I thought Charles came in and played the best left tackle of anyone that we saw in that game. I think he came in, if I'm not mistaken, it was early third quarter that he came in and started getting his run. But you can tell his feet were fluid. His hands were heavy. I've been saying this from day one. That kid has very heavy hands, and he's a good foot mover. My only problem with him is, did he have that quickness and that initial burst to be able to handle those speed edge rushers coming off? And I thought he performed really well. I thought Sadiq looked very, very good at left tackle. I thought Leno Jr. struggled. We saw him struggle early in that game, and he didn't play that much. I know he's been out and dealing with some issues off the field, but didn't think he looked that good. But Charles, to me, was the best left tackle we saw on our team in that game. And then you go into some of the depth on that offensive line. I mean, you're talking about Flowers coming in, Big West kicking over and taking over for Brandon at right guard. I mean, that's a luxury to have. Chase was his normal self, just solid and steady and just, blowing people off the ball. Didn't think Larson looked too good at center, and Ishmael had some problems when he came in. He got steamrolled 3 or 4 times. So we do have a little bit of an issue at center. I know Schweitzer played there as well too. So maybe if we do have anything that Chase needs a breather or anything, maybe Big West steps in there at center as well. But the depth, for me, was probably one of the most impressive things I saw on the entire offensive side of the ball, on the offensive line.
I really respect what you just gave, man, because if there's one thing that we don't give enough credit to on this show, or that people don't give enough credit to in general, because it's not like a big story in their world, is the offensive line. And I'll acknowledge that. I don't give enough credit to the offensive line. And that's something that you brought out. Cosme, I did agree with. But I just didn't want to, repeat what everybody was saying. But you are 100% right. And the thing I will ask you next in terms of blocking is inline blocking, man. The tight end position is kind of crazy. I don't think there's anybody on that outside of the person I'm about to mention. I don't think there's anybody on that position group or in that position group that really wants to fucking block. And there was one person that stood out that didn't hesitate, got his hands dirty, and didn't care if he bobbled catches or not. He said, if I'm a bobble and struggle in the receiving game, I'm going to show up in the run game. And that was Sammis Reyes, man, the rookie, the dude who never played football a day in his life. He got out there and got dirty from the get-go, and it was on ever since he was on the field, man. What did you think about the boy Sammis Reyes? And how did you think, even if he struggled in the passing game as a pass catcher, how do you think he fared just boosting his stock as an overall tight end and being able to block?
So I didn't appreciate the game that Reyes had until I went back and watched the game two times afterwards. And when I really dug in and watched what he was doing in the run game, it was so impressive to watch a young kid who has never played football do what he did. I don't care about the bobble balls. I mean, he's out there working the jugs machine. After practice, he's getting extra reps to work on his initial foot, hand placement, that type of stuff. So the catches are going to come. I mean, the dude was a basketball player. He knows how. He's got hands. I mean, he was a good rebounder. He was, he has hands. That's going to come. But yeah, that in my blocking was very, very impressive. Him and Bates, they looked the part. I can tell you one guy that didn't look the part was Hemingway. That was almost embarrassing what happened there.
It was crazy. So, multiple times too. Multiple.
Yeah, and listen, I don't want to dwell on the negative here. I want to dwell on the positive. But Reyes and Bates, being it was their first game, I mean, they look better than the veterans out there on both sides, on both teams. I'm going to say that on both teams. Bates down by the goal line one time, he did a really nice job. I think it was on Barber's touchdown, or maybe it was the play before where Patterson got down at the half-yard line, but he came off of a block and just planted someone back in the end zone. It was impressive. So both those guys did a nice job.
So I'm gonna ask you. Go ahead, Dre. You got it.
No, I was just gonna say, just to follow up on the tight ends, that yeah, that was really encouraging to see Bates and Reyes do what they did, because we were kind of questioning who's behind Logan, even though I heard great things about John Bates out of BYU coming out, but Sammis Reyes is the one we all thought was the project. Like, no one, expected him to probably even make the roster, just be a nice little, story. But he looked like tight end number 3, or he looks like he has the potential to be tight end number 3 right now in this roster. And I think John Bates is going to probably lock up the tight end number 2 position.
And that's what I was going to. We the best asked earlier, who is the third tight end? Reyes, RSJ, who is Ricky Seals-Jones, or Hemingway? And I'll go first because I love layup questions. Hemingway is immediately out of the equation. We know that. Like there's no way he ends up being the third guy. But when it comes to Sammis Reyes or Ricky Seals-Jones, man, I think the beauty of this position is that even though Reyes had a really impressive outing, at least in one aspect of the football game, Ricky Seals-Jones he didn't have a bad outing at all. Like, there was nothing that hurt his stock in that first preseason game. And I think one of the things that we have to really understand is the opportunities that they get, right? Ricky Seals-Jones really didn't have the best opportunities presented to him, at least in the passing game. I can't really tell you what he looked like in the run game. That wasn't highlighted like it was with Sammis Reyes. But Ricky Seals-Jones had opportunities in the pass game, and things just didn't work out on his end. I don't even remember if he had a catch or not, but I do remember he had one. It was one pass that was to him, and I think was this the one? No, that was Hemingway, I believe, who was thrown into like triple coverage or something like that with Heineke. But yeah, he really didn't have that many
opportunities. Hemingway had his stone hands, but I think Seals-Jones had one catch. It was a short one. I think it was like a little crosser, shallow crosser.
All right, yeah. So like I said, he didn't really have any he didn't really have a bad outing. It was just opportunities where you see stuff like that. So I'll pass the question to you all. Who do you think has the third tight end spot right now? Sammis Reyes. We're gonna eliminate Hemingway, or Ricky Seals-Jones. Where are you all at right now?
Well, if it was up to me, I would go Reyes just off of potential alone. But it's an argument to be made with Ricky Seals-Jones and Reyes because Ricky Seals-Jones have experience, and outside of Logan, you don't have experience right now among that position group. But I would just say keep Reyes, and if it looks like a situation where you do need something behind Logan because the other guys just aren't there yet, then I would just go dip in the free agent pool. I mean, there's still a couple of tight ends out there that has experience that you could bring in at some point if you need to. So I would go Reyes if I had the option.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you guys. Reyes is my guy 100%. Wasn't sold coming into the game. I thought he was going to need some seasoning, but he really, I mean, the physicality was what sold it for me. Here's the way I look at it. I don't think Reyes clears waivers. So I look at waivers and who can revert to the practice squad. So Seals-Jones is kind of like a journeyman guy. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams out there snapping him up off waivers. I don't even think he has to go through waivers because he's a vet. He's a veteran. But he could still revert to the practice squad under the new rule of 2 and still make his $2,000 a week if he got put in our practice squad. I just don't think Reyes would ever make it to our practice squad. Someone's going to see that potential there, and they would pick him up before he was able to revert. So that's the way I look at the process.
Absolutely. What's going on, Boog? Dre Boog, man, checking in, man. Appreciate you. So we got a couple things going on. Cole mentioned, I don't think you can learn to catch. You're either born with that or not, but if Reyes can block, that works. I respect that for sure. I think basketball just it involves or enters a new element, because there are some people out here like Cole, like people who only play football, and if they can't catch playing football, then obviously, you know what I'm saying, you can't really that's it. But if you got other sports that's kind of helping you, baseball helps with certain things, basketball helps with certain things, you kind of have there's a chance. So we'll see where it goes with Reyes. But I definitely get it. I understand. All right. So let's go ahead and get to the next things. I had something with Patterson, but I think that's pretty simple. I guess we can get a yes or no. Is the Patterson hype overblown? I'm gonna say no. I actually did a poll with this on the Hogs Haven site, but I'm gonna just ask a yes or no. Is it hype overblown? I'm gonna say no, it's not. I think he's a legitimate I really do think he's a legitimate player or contender to take over that third role at the running back position over Peyton Barber at this point. There's some things going for him. He has to show out a little bit more in terms of being an overall player and making the coaches force them to make that decision in terms of special teams and moving other people around in order to keep Patterson and even move on from Peyton Barber. But I don't think the Patterson hype is overblown. Where y'all at with that one?
No, I mean, listen, 5'8", 195 pounds of just like pure muscle. I mean, I saw the video today when he came out of the locker room, and the dude's legs are like tree trunks. I mean, his balance, he's built low to the ground. He can cut, he can plant, he can burst. He was a 4.5 140 at his Buffalo Pro Day. The dude is not afraid to put his head down and get those 2 yards that you need on 3rd and short. We saw him catch the ball out of the backfield, which was probably one of the most impressive things that I thought we saw in his debut. So as of right now, he is my number 3. And if we keep 4 running backs and Barber sticks on the roster, so be it. But I'm happy going into the season with Gibson, McKissick, and Patterson, and then maybe a young guy that we steal from someone else's practice squad to throw on our practice squad and have him as backup.
Yeah, I have to go no as well. Obviously, because he was hyped, a lot this offseason as a guy that, he has a lot of potential because of what he did in Buffalo. He almost averaged 200 yards a game in college last year, which is, that's one of the upper echelon running backs there. But with running backs, I always tell people, it doesn't take you long to see it with them. It's certain guys that, when they come out, you just know they have it. And he showed it already in his first preseason game. I mean, because we've been on both ends of the spectrum. We've had guys like Samaje Perine come in with all this hype. And I saw early on that he was nothing. I said, this guy, he can't really generate more than 3 or 4 yards. And that was in his first preseason games. So that's why I said you kind of see it early with him. And he was already hyped coming into it because people were always saying, watch out for that Jared Patterson guy. And he kind of answered already in his first game. So it's going to keep growing as long as he keeps performing like that.
Well, here, let me throw this to you guys. I put up a tweet today, and let me throw out 3 numbers for you guys. Tell me who had each number. You guys don't cheat. You probably saw the tweet. But all right, 4.7, 4.3, 2.7. Who owned each one of those yards per carry?
Oh, well, I know Peyton Barber's 2.7. God, I didn't look. I'm about to say I didn't did enough on Peyton Barber over the past few months. I know Peyton Barber's 2.7.
Correct.
And what was the other 2 averages?
4.7 and 4.3.
I got Patterson at number 1.
So Patterson's not in this one because I only did NFL running backs, but I was gonna tell you what Patterson's was from college.
Oh, okay. College. Okay.
So the last 2 were from last year.
Last year.
Yeah,
it's only last year for us.
I think Gibson was probably 4.3 because I know what's his name, McKissick was very efficient with the carries that he got. So I'm gonna say McKissick was 4.7.
Yep.
Final answer.
Yes, final answer.
I'm going with the same Jamal.
All right, so it was Gibson hit 4.7.
4.7.
McKissick hit 4.3. You guys were both nailed Barber at 2.7.
Oh yeah, Peyton Barber was a layup.
that was a layup. I mean, I gave you guys a softball there, and you guys both crushed it over the fence. So, take a guess as to in 6 games last year, how many yards per carry Patterson averaged at Buffalo. Now, this is playing in the MAC, but over 6 games.
I'm going 8 yards per carry.
7.
Oof.
It was definitely over. It was definitely over 6. I know that much.
I think he was 7.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Dre, we're gonna take it as we're gonna both take it as a W.
And he had 19 touchdowns.
Yeah. Hey, Patterson was the guy.
400 yards in one game and 8 touchdowns in one game.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was crazy.
Yeah, it really was, man. And that's the thing. Like when you see a coach. Fellas, when you see those coaches, man, who are trying to find ways to just use you outside of the actual position that you're in, even when they love you at that running back position or whatever position that you're playing, it's a good sign. It's always a good sign, man. And they're just trying to find ways to see if they can use you versus like, can we move on from other positions and just like stash other people? Like, for example, if you're talking about keeping 6 wide receivers, initially. Is there a way where you can use Jared Patterson as that third running back, but also use him in multiple different areas, and you can eliminate the need to have like 7 receivers and keep that 6-1. Only keep 6, or same thing with the tight end position, or same thing with the cornerback, the secondary position, things dealing with special teams and stuff like that. So they're finding ways, or they're thinking of ways. They already started using him at kick return and punt return today and yesterday. Today being Wednesday for those who are listening to the podcast. Oh, excuse me, Tuesday. I'm tripping. Oh my goodness. But today being Tuesday for those who listen to the podcast, and obviously yesterday, Monday as well. So they're finding ways to try and get this guy on the field, man. And that's obviously an encouraging sign for somebody who's trying to make this roster as an undrafted free agent, man. They really like that, man. All right. So hold on, wait. Oh yeah, Kev said he was so in on Samaji. But he was destroying the Big 12, man. It was easy. It was easy for that guy. All right. So Kendall Fuller. Over the last couple of days, fellas, and this, I guess we can be brief with this one, but there was a slight mention from Rhiannon Walker of The Athletic. She mentioned a couple times throughout a different days that Kendall Fuller was starting to get some looks at slot. And there was actually one moment where I believe she said that Benjamin St. Juste was almost playing exclusively with the ones, and Kendall Fuller was playing primarily in the slot. This was a couple days ago. And then you get coaches speak. Ron Rivera said after Sunday's practice that in terms of Fuller moving to the slot, that we have a very savvy player with a guy with a lot of experience in that position with some really good ball skills. It's been really good to watch him and see exactly where he fits in the scheme of things for us, not just as an outside corner, but as a guy who can potentially move inside and help us there as well. He said that after Sunday's practice, fellas, and I'm going to just turn it to you all, open floor. Mark, I'll give you the first stab since you gave Dre the first stab last time. Are we starting to see the transition of Kendall Fuller in the slot, or is this something that they're just going to continue to like experiment in practice and see if it works before they actually fully commit to this type of move?
I mean, I'm going to go back to KC. So if you think about his time in KC, where did he play the best? He played the best when he was playing in the slot or at safety. So they were rotating him around in those positions. They played him at boundary corner. He didn't perform like they thought he was going to. Not saying he was bad at any means, but yeah, he played better when he was playing in the slot. I think he was one of the highest rated guys next to the kid from the Chargers, who was a slot specialist. I think those two in that 1 year were the 2 highest rated slot cornerbacks. But he also played well at safety too when they put him back there and kind of monkey around with him a little bit. So I think we're going to see a little bit of mix of both. I think we're going to see him and William Jackson start off on the outside. I think you're going to see mixed coverages on both sides where Jackson's going to be tailing your best receiver, and they're going to be doing some other stuff opposite Jackson. So whether it's moving them around to play positional football, or whether it's just saying, hey, St. Juste, you take the bigger guy on the outside, you take the X receiver, let's put Kendall, who tends to be a little bit quicker. Well, actually, I don't even know if that's true because St. Juste had a ridiculous 3-cone drill. But yeah, I think it could happen. I think Kendall played his best ball in KC when he played inside and at safety.
Okay. And are you talking about Casey Hayward on the Chargers? I feel like that.
Yes, Hayward. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of his name, but yes, it was Casey Hayward. Yep.
Hey, that's the benefits of a computer, man. I can look it up right quick while you're talking. I forgot his name too. All right, Jay, where you at it, boss?
Yeah, no, I mean, I just think that's just why we all love Kendall Fuller in the first place. We love Kendall Fuller when he was here the first time. He's a very versatile cornerback. I mean, like Mark said, he can also play safety. He can play the outside. He can play slot cornerback, and obviously he played it pretty well in Kansas City. But that's why you go out and you get a guy like Ben St. Juste, because now you just strengthening that secondary up. Because like I said, now Kendall Fuller, who, he was obviously one of our best players last year, and now he's going to move into a slot corner at a position we've been burned at for years. So if he can play it, why not? And that's, like I said, that's the great thing about having a guy like Ben St. Juste. Now, this is assuming Ben St. Juste is, like I said, who they think he is. Then you have that option to move Kendall Fuller at a place that we've kind of been needing someone to be, pretty good at in the slot corner.
Fellas, I'm looking forward to it, man. I've said this a few times, and I've learned after last year just missing out on the opportunity to actually be at training camp. The most important thing is for all of us who are not at training camp, and for those who listen, I'll give him some credit too. I just don't want to make it seem like I'm taking off him. I'm not. It's my own opinion. But Kevin Sheehan has mentioned it a few times as well. For those who are in the area, the best thing that you can do when you're not at practice is actually listen to what the coaches are saying. And the most important thing that the coach is talking about with Rivera and Kendall Fuller is the fact that they're experimenting the what this defense looks like with Kendall Fuller in the slot. And the more and more they realize that Kendall Fuller kind of performs better with that that ability to kind of play a little bit more aggressive in the slot versus I don't think that I think he's very passive on the outside. That's just my opinion. He doesn't really put his hands on the receivers as much. And in turn, without that physicality or without that aggressive nature that I think that he has in the slot versus on the boundary, there's a lot of people that kind of blows past him. And it's not all the time, but it happens. And with that being said, I think if they can find an opportunity to try and keep him exclusively in the slot and have those spot duties on the boundary, I think it works out for the defense. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. And the coach is kind of hinting towards that experiment. And over the past couple of days, as Rhiannon Walker has tweeted, and some people have noticed as well, they're looking at it, and I just hope that we do see it in the preseason as well. There's 2 more games, and yep.
Oh no, you ain't finished. Are you finished?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's 2 more games coming up, and just simply if we can get some looks with Kendall Fuller in the slot, I would love to see it, and just to see how if they are actually gonna give this some end game run as well.
Yeah, no, and while we were on the subject of cornerbacks, I wanted to get you all's opinion, especially Mark. I wanted to hear what he thought about Ron Rivera saying that Ben St. Juste could be a Charles Tillman type of cornerback, which was kind of high praise to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Peanut was no joke, man. He could play.
Absolutely.
But is Ben St. Juste is he similar to that? Is he that type of player? That's what I want to know.
Well, I can tell you from being a Big Ten fan and watching a ton of Big Ten football the last couple of years, I did not see St. Juste stand out. And it could have just been my ignorance that I wasn't watching. Minnesota is not a powerhouse football team that you usually see in and out, and they're not one of the perennial contenders in that league. So maybe it was just I missed a lot of games, the COVID year last year. I don't remember seeing him stand out a ton on film. So when we picked him, I had to go back and watch film again. And 2 things stood out to me when I watched that film was the footwork. I mean, for a big dude who's 6'3", he can move and he gets low and he sinks those hips over the balls of his feet, and you don't see him taking a lot of missteps. And the other thing I saw in him was eye discipline. And that's something that so many young cornerbacks, they're peeking into the backfield and they get burnt on double moves. He had very good eye discipline. He would play through the receiver with his eyes. And when I taught defensive backs, when I coached, I'm like, listen, you got to play through your receiver into the backfield. You can't just peek and give up. You got to watch the route. You got to watch the subtleness of the route. You got to watch the nuances of the receiver as he comes into his break, as he comes out of his stem. And then you got to read through him and look into the quarterback to see where the quarterback's eyes, shoulders, body language is going. Plus, you also have to read combos all around you. And that was something that stood out on film when I went back and watched it on St. Juste, that Benji had great eye discipline. And we saw many, many guys here over the last decade, we can all point them out, all 3 of us can, who got burnt because they would peek into the backfield too much. So I hope that he learned, and that's something that's very tough for a young cornerback to come into this league with that eye discipline. And if he has that, he's going to succeed because he's physical and he has the tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it stood out to me because, like I said, is when I think about Charles Tillman, I think of playmaker. I almost think about a playmaker in the mode of a D'Angelo Hall. I mean, these were guys who were a threat to get a pick 6 at any moment. So if Ben St. Juste is anywhere close to that, I mean, especially with Tillman, he had like a 14-year career or 12, 13-year career in Chicago, and he was a very underrated defensive player, one of the best cornerbacks of his era. And if Ben St. Juste is that's going to be a big time pick for us.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
And another big time defender that we're gonna have to pay in a couple years. So, hey, look, the better the players, the better the problem. So, we'll see where it goes. All right. So listen, Mark, man, I definitely appreciate you joining us tonight, and you've been great, man. And we can close it out with one last thing here, fellas. What we want to see against the Cincinnati Bengals on Friday, man. There was as impressive the individual performances were against the New England Patriots, as some individual performances were. There's also some things that we want to see a little bit more out of the Washington football team, man. And I guess I'll go ahead first, and then I'll let you all close it out with this one. But some of the things that I want to see on Friday goes more on a macro level. And I kind of want to put this out there now because it's important to understand that missed opportunities, no matter if it's regular season or preseason, is somewhat worth noting. And the reason why I say that is it's not necessarily, I think the starting offense moved well, and I'm not going to discredit them for being, it looked like they were in sync up until the point where they weren't. And the reason why the reason why I'm saying that is because that 3rd and 1 that Mark mentioned, where he said he wished they went for it on 4th down, there was a missed blocking assignment. And I don't know who's responsible for it, if it was like a quarterback issue where he was supposed to check in, or if it was simply the offensive lineman on the left side just simply did not pick up the block, or the defender who ended up getting free in the backfield. That halted a really good drive that Ryan Fitzpatrick had in his very first drive as a Washington football player. And that was kind of demoralizing in a sense. The second drive after that, they're moving again. And what happens? The offense has a mishap where they slip. Adam Humphries, he ends up slipping on his out route for a 1st down. Now, I said it before, I don't know. That pass kind of looked like it was outside of his reach. And that's just from my observation, but we would never know if he didn't slip. So I can't say it. I don't know the truth behind it. But my point is, missed opportunities kind of build up, and that kind of gets into the heads of sometimes when you're talking about offenses and stuff like that, clicking and just understanding that missed opportunities they can stack on top of each other time and again. I just want to see these guys execute and be in sync, get some points on the board. I don't care. I mean, if we can get like 3 drives with the starting offense, I would love to see at least 1 touchdown. That's all I really need to see to understand how this offense is really emerging or developing as one another, and the chemistry wise. Like that's all I want to see on the offensive side. Defensively, I need to see people play faster. I think a lot of the missed tackles had to do with confusion, but also not like some of these guys felt like they were out of place. That's what it looked like to me. Specifically Derek Forrest. I understand that he was a rookie and that was his very first game in the big lights, but he kind of looked out of place. And I think a lot of had to do with the game speed versus him actually not know what he was doing. Like, I think he was in the right place, but because he didn't know what was going on, people were blowing right past him when they were right in front of him. So I just need to see people play a little bit faster, play with a little bit more decision and decisiveness, and go from there on the defensive side of the football. So with that being said, I'll hand it to you all to close it out and see what we got going on for Friday's night matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Go ahead, Jay, you got it.
Yeah, you summed it up pretty well on offense. You want to see some of that stuff, get out the way. I mean, even early on in the game with Sam Cosmi, he missed a key block that could have sprung Antonio Gibson for a longer run than he did. But I thought it's a lot of it for me in especially the first game. I'm not sure how much of it is jitters or how much of it, is just whatever it can be because it's first game. But as we saw, Sam Cosmi got more comfortable as the game went on. But it was just little stuff like that kind of halted drives where, like I said, that's why I said I was still a little bit impressed by the offense. I thought they moved the ball. It was just a couple of mistakes here and there that will halt the drive that you want to see them clean up. So obviously this week going into the Cincinnati game, you want to see that offense get out there and you want to see them score early. You want them to build that confidence and you want them to build momentum starting now. Like I don't believe in flipping on switches. So, right now, there's no reason to concern or panic after the first game, but you start doing that the second and third preseason game, then you start to worry, is this going to be an issue headed into the season? So, I kind of want them to just go in there, build up some momentum and some confidence early on in the game, and then, rest the starters or whatever. And then defensively, you want to see guys like Jamin Davis show some improvement over this week. You want to see, those young guys get into the film room and start putting their stuff into action on the game day. You want to start seeing the stuff they're doing in practice lead over to the game day. It was disappointing for guys like Derek Forrest because you got fans already saying cut him, and he's just a rookie playing in his first game. So,
It's crazy,
it's tough to see that. But yeah, I saw they would say, oh, yeah, his stock is already down. I was like, oh, man. But, you want to see guys just show improvement from one week to the other. And this will give you a sense of encouragement going into the season. So defensively, you want to see them, like I said, play fast. You want to see them play instinctively. And this is specifically for the young guys because, you kind of know what Chase and Montez and Jonathan Allen and those guys are going to bring. But now you want to see what the new additions are going to bring. And also defensively, last thing for me, I want to see William Jackson go out there and have a strong game because he's another guy that's kind of been, up and down in practice. And he's also admitted that he's had a lot. It's been a lot different than what he's done in Cincinnati. And you kind of don't like to hear that coming from a guy early on because that means that, it's right now does not, whatever it is isn't working. But you just want to see him get it. You want to see him go out and have a strong game because that was our big free agent signing.
That was actually a really good call too on William Jackson, for sure, because he's had some noise, not in the most positive light recently. But he's working on some things, man. That's a really good call, Dre.
Speaking of Forrest, did you guys see him playing the Buffalo nickel?
You said who?
Yeah,
Forrester was playing the Buffalo nickel, so they had. I went back and I had to watch it again, but he was repping at the Buffalo nickel, and that's where you saw some missteps there because he probably was used to playing box safety, and he had a little bit more responsibility in that Buffalo nickel role. Okay. So I was definitely hoping to see a little bit more from him. He disappointed a little bit, but I think he had a lot on his plate that game. So I'm looking forward to him taking the next step up. And he's a big hitter. We know that. He just was putting his head down. He wasn't coming through on his tackles. So that'll be corrected. I'm sure it got corrected in practice. Not to sound redundant to what both of you guys said, because I thought you guys made incredible points, but I will parlay off what both of you guys said. And the three things for me, finish the drives and make the plays. So when I say make the plays, we saw Brown running wide open that entire game. His releases off the line of scrimmage were picture perfect. We missed him on a deep ball. We missed him on a dig, 15-yard dig. We overthrew him, threw behind him. I want to see Dami make some catches. I mean, because that kid's going to be electric. So I want to see him make the plays. I want to see the quarterbacks get the ball to him. When I'm saying finishing the drive, we talked about, Jamal, you already talked about scoring some points and getting some early success. But you all know where this is going to go. We got to make field goals when field goals are makeable. So there's no excuse for that, So even if we come out of a drive with 3 points, it's better than come out of a drive with a missed field goal. So we need that little bit of momentum coming out of those drives. And then I'm just going to say this for all my Twitter haters today that were getting on me about that. Antonio Gandy Golden caught that ball. You guys can argue.
I actually seen that thread. I seen it. I was watching.
Did you see it? I was I'm telling you, I went back and I read the rules 5 times to make sure I wasn't losing anything. That was a catch. It's subjective. I get it. It was subjective, but he needs to make that catch. He needs that extra little bit of motivation, and that play could have really helped him out. But he made the catch. I'm sorry, but that was a catch. If that's in the regular season, they're calling that a catch. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping to say or see for the Bengals game. And, I think we're going to see a little bit better performance. I think we're going to see a little bit more overall team speed.
Absolutely.
That 6 wide receiver spot competition. I mean, it is hot right now. Like I said, Dax Milne, DeAndre Carter, Steven Sims, and even Antonio Gandy Golden is still in the mix, man. That competition is piping hot.
It is. And they were saying Milne was running with the ones today, too. So they were putting him in there as well as Carter. So those guys are both getting a little bit of look in there. And we know they can both return. So that definitely is going to help them. I haven't heard much about Sims Jr. He made I think he had 2 catches in that game. One was on the deep end, and he had a nice hands catch, which we're all excited about that. But I'm wondering, is he going to be the guy left out of this competition right now?
We'll see. I do know Felix mentioned who's on the beat. He had mentioned yesterday that Steve was actually he said in his opinion, he said that he was having a top 3 camp out of all the people on the team. So maybe he just didn't have those opportunities in game to showcase. I know one thing for sure. It was not a good look on that punt return. That one opportunity that he got, knowing that he's going to be that's going to be an essential part to him making a roster. His return game and having that one bad rep, it was not good for him. So we'll see where it goes, but he was definitely up there in terms of the praise for Steve Sims and what they see on the practice field at least. So we'll see what the opportunities are, Mark. I'm not entirely too sure in game. We got to see it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So just to clean some things up, Cole mentioned he mentioned Hopkins as well. So we wasn't going to forget Hopkins regardless. Hopkins got to have a perfect night, no misses. And then he also mentioned that he felt like Patterson's going to be on the team. No question. He flashed legit skills multiple times. He had doubts going in, but he made me a believer. And plus, you can never have too much PG County talent on the squad. And Cole, I'm here for that. PG County all day, my brother. All right, Mark. You have been great, man. You've been excellent, and we definitely appreciate your time and appreciate you checking in with the Trapper Dive tonight to help us preview the Cincinnati Bengals and just get some things off your chest with the Washington football team, man. You've been great. This ain't about to be the last time I reach out to you, But yes, for those who don't know, let everybody know where they can find you and where they can see your written work at.
Yeah, no, guys, I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you very much. It was a great conversation. Enjoyed the dialogue. So, pop on over to Hogs Haven. Check Jamal and I out over there. We do a lot of stuff. We interact with the community and the fans over there as well. So I'm on Twitter. You can follow me at Tiller56. Hit me up for any questions. I always love to talk football with anybody. Keep it real, and we can talk bourbon too.
I'm about to say, don't forget that bourbon part. That's the important thing. With football, we need to talk about that bourbon. Absolutely. Hey, so listen, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow, and then Washington football will be back on Thursday. Tomorrow it's all 32 side with the day ones, man. We're gonna check in, talk a little bit of Cowboys, Eagles, all that bullshit. But we about to be here tomorrow. Remember, we are going to start the call-ins on Thursday, man. For those who weren't here at the beginning of the show, call-ins starting on Thursday. Get some things off your chest, whatever it is when you want to talk about Washington football, whatever it is, any questions you got to ask us, anything that you want to get off your chest, Washington football related, call-in starting on Thursday. There will be Thursdays and Mondays, man. So we appreciate all the supporters, everybody who's been checking in with us, everybody who's been tuning in. This is your opportunity to be even more involved with the show. We're going to try and help build things out and just build a relationship with everybody who fucks with us. Plain and simple. So yeah, with that being said, appreciate everybody who joined us tonight. Like, subscribe, rate us, 1 stars. You know the vibes. I'm going to find you. You know what I'm saying? Don't do the 1-star thing. With that being said, catch y'all tomorrow, man. Dre will be back on Thursday. Peace.
Whole hard in the trenches, ask a nigga what he benching, triple digits, nigga, don't forget to mention. Whole hard in the